Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me is...
your other host, Khalid Hussain.
How's it going tonight, Khalid?
Oh, I'm so great, Joe. I'm just having
so great.
Yes, so great. Just
so
a
great.
Nice, relaxing Sunday evening.
I was saying the same thing. I have a pretty relaxing day. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's the older you get, I think the easier it is to appreciate them when you get them.
Agreed. And you know what, Khalid?
What?
I don't have a pun for you today. I was going to try to come up with one on the top of my head. I do not have a pun for you right now, but I do want to bring in our. We have a guest today.
Ooh, do we? I mean,
we do.
But do we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, for the audience, stand in there. Yeah, Anghus Houvouras is joining us. He's a North Carolina-based author who has penned the screenplays for the feature films 20 Funerals, Dead Heist, and A Civilized World, which is currently on Tubi, one of my favorites, as you all know. And the novels The Cocaine Zoo and the Frankenstein-inspired war horror The Dead of Winter. Welcome, Anghus.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate being here.
Oh, absolutely. Our pleasure.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Yeah, that resume is a lot of fun. I am. I have to say, I haven't seen most of your movies. Or I haven't seen any of the movies yet. But I was reading about them for a while, and I'm specifically intrigued by Dead Heist, which you had.
Yeah.
Who's the star? Big Daddy Kane, the star of that, right?
Whoa.
Big Daddy Kane. Yeah. Yes. The original.
Yeah, that looks like a blast.
It is. It's funny. Like Dead Heist is probably the film out of all the stuff I've written that is the most like. There are people who genuinely think it's fun, it's entertaining. Like I've read a lot of interviews with people over the years who have mentioned it. It's kind of one of those like really obscure culty titles, but it's still fun. It's still it's one of those movies that I can still watch if I happen to see it, or a clip from it. I don't cringe, and there's a lot of things I've worked on in the past where I'm like, oh, you were so young and dumb and you made so many mistakes. But Dead Heist is one of those films I still, absolutely think is still worth watching. Also on Tubi now.
Also on Tubi. Oh, yes.
Everything's on Tubi. I love it.
Yeah, it's where you can find everything.
Music to Joe's ears.
Anghus, I have a few new guest questions for people joining us for the first time on the podcast. And it's fun. I feel like we actually haven't done the guest questions in a hot minute. It's been a while since we had a new guest on, but I'll jump right into it and get started. Are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
So in all of pop culture, you can choose books, movies, what have you. What would you say your favorite monster or creature is? And if it's not the same, what would you consider the scariest to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's probably the same for me, one and the same. The creature that I still find the most horrifying, wonderful, amazing is Cronenberg's The Fly.
Oh, good choice.
I saw it. It hit me at a right age. Everybody has, I think, that age, like when you're a horror fan, like you kind of start with like scary stories and campfire tales, and you kind of work your way up to, like not so scary movies aimed for kids, PG rated stuff. And then eventually you start seeing movies that are geared much towards older audiences, and you realize how much more worse it can be and how impactful that is to you. And that was Cronenberg's The Fly. I think I was like 11 when I saw it.
Oh,
and yeah, probably shouldn't have. Those ratings actually do have meaning and warrant our respect. But no, it was just really just one of those. It was such a horrifying movie to watch, and you just realize how awful, and the body horror. And the end when he gets shot out of the teleporter, like merged with the metal, and the horrifying expression on his face as she's holding the shotgun. Like, I don't think any creature in any movie has ever affected me at a molecular level as Cronenberg's The Fly.
Wow.
That's a good pick. Yeah, no, that's still to this day one of my favorite movies that we've done for the podcast too.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. That was one of our earlier episodes, but that was a good one. I don't think I had seen it until only recently. So it was to see it as a kid. That's got to be impactful.
Yeah, transformative. Yeah.
I was in my 30s and I had just night terrors from it. So kudos to you for surviving that.
Question number 2 for you, more general, just like what would you consider on your geek card? Like what is something like just that you like will geek out about to no end?
This is like the most narcissistic deep cut. But as I was thinking about this, honestly, I have this weird obsession with people celebrities who do voiceovers for commercials.
Huh.
Where I'll get to it's this it's the weirdest thing in the world. Like, you'll be watching TV, you're watching the football game on Sunday, and a Mercedes commercial comes on, and you start hearing a voice, and it's how quickly can I identify who the person doing that? John Hamm, and you go, okay, it's John Hamm, or like and your game goes on, a few minutes go by, they go to another commercial break, and now it's like the new Chevy, and I'm like, oh that's Chris Pine, and like this just goes on and on throughout the point where I think my wife just thinks I'm nuts, because I just like I'll just look over and be like, that's Will Arnett doing the GMC ad. Like I don't know why I care so much about identifying the people who do the voiceovers for the commercials. It's the most meaningless thing in the world, and yet I have some sort of weird, geeky focus on that.
I love that. That is a really, really unique answer that we've gotten. Wow.
Very unique.
I think it gives you a lot of insight into my brain and why nobody would want to spend much time there.
It gives us all some context.
Yeah.
I love it though. I think that's fascinating. It is fun. I always feel like I kind of get where you're coming from, where I'm like, I don't like actively seek out the recognition, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I recognize that voice. That's so and so, and then people are with like, okay, so.
No, it's like that if a tree falls in the forest. If nobody knows that I can identify who that voice is, it doesn't even happen. It's not even worth it. I need that dopamine. Like some people get it from like TikTok and Twitter. I get it from being validated for knowing which celebrities voice which commercials.
Wow.
Fair. I like it. Before we Angus, before we dig into our movie that we're going to be talking today, I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about your recent book. You sent us the manuscript for it, The Dead of Winter.
Yes.
That's your most recent book, correct?
It is my most recent book.
Okay. And so we obviously are Frankenstein's fans here. So what was kind of like the inspiration for you to kind of create something like this Frankenstein zombie thing and then like meld that into World War II? Are you a history buff too? Or is it just like, you're like, oh, that'd be a cool setting? Or what was kind of the thought behind making that?
It's funny. It's kind of like my gateway into history. I was actually fascinated by the concept of the story of Frankenstein. It was my favorite story as a kid. As you know, I delved into things a little early. Like we mentioned earlier with The Fly. So I was like, that kind of story and that kind of stuff always appealed to me. And then I started becoming a fan of World War II comic books, Weird War Tales, all that great old Joe Kubert art, Sergeant Rock. And I was like, oh, I really like to combine. I really like the idea of horror and war. And, then they kind of sat in my brain for years. And then eventually I kind of had the idea of what if you redid the story of Frankenstein, but it was set during World War II. And it was, and I think the whole, there's a whole genre of like, the occult and supernatural and monster stuff in World War II and all.
Yeah.
So I was like, but what's my original, what's my version of my take on it? And I kind of went a little darker and a little deeper into the, like what do we do during times of war? The massive scientific and technological leaps we take because we have to, whether it be the atomic bomb or better plane engines or more efficient tanks. All these great things that now benefit our society all came from a military creation. So I kind of wanted to explore the idea of what if the Nazis were trying to make a weapon, but it wasn't a bomb or a plane; it was a person. Yeah. And then that's the basic concept, and then I kind of wanted to go one level deeper and explain what happens when you make this creature. What is this creature? How many different people is he made up of? How many different psyches and personalities are in there? And it started to develop this idea, this sort of ongoing Frankenstein-inspired story about crazy doctor makes a creature, but the creature's a little bit more complex than in the original novel. Intelligent, but also this one kind of now decides humanity might not have the right idea, and he might be better served to run things. And it gets weirder and weirder as the story goes. So this is the first in what is intended to be a series.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think I kind of went a little overboard on the explanation, but basically it's just a nice horror story set during World War II. I did a lot of research. I mean, I knew a little bit about World War II. Both my grandparents served in World War II. So, I had a lot of basic stories and understanding of it like anybody else. But I did a lot of research when I was writing just to make sure that everything was, the little things that put you in that world. And, I don't think you have to go so deep. You don't need to know, what brand of deodorant every character uses, but I do think you have to sort of at least get an idea of what their day-to-day routine was like. What are the things that were happening at the time when the American military was over there, and kind of get into the heads of these characters to try to do a better job of bringing the reader in. So I probably did a lot more reading than I needed to, but it's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Thanks. The reaction's been pretty good. I've gotten a couple good reviews, and it just seems like it's one of those stories that I've just been wanting to get out there for years. It started as a screenplay, and then I was pushing it for years and years and years to different people. Had a friend of mine whip up some concept art. I think I emailed you guys some of that when I sent you the manuscript.
I think so.
I had a friend whip up some sketches, and we took it around for a while, and we had it optioned a couple of times, and it ended up never getting made. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to not have this story told. So then that's when I decided to turn it into the novel.
That's so cool. Yeah, I will, and I have the link to the Amazon Kindle and the paperback, so we'll put that in our show notes for anyone listening. If you're interested in the book, definitely pick it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I suppose we should get into our main topic at hand. Khalid, I have a question for you.
What's up?
I lied.
Oh God, I knew it.
What do you call a troll that is in charge?
What?
In control.
I'm so sorry, Angus.
And that's a segue into our movie at hand. Khalid, what are we talking about? Boom.
There's 1,000 paper cuts, man.
Got to do it.
Oh, okay. I'm recovering. All right. Shake it off. All right. Let's go to our homeboy Google for our synopsis that goes a little something like this. Oh, sorry. Today we're talking about... You really threw me off with that.
I threw you off.
Man.
I did.
I am recovering hard right now.
You could say you're not in control.
I won't. Principle. Today we're talking about the 2022 film Troll, directed by Roar Uthaug. And we've got a synopsis from our homeboy Google that goes a little something like this. When an ancient troll is awakened in a Norwegian mountain, a ragtag group of heroes must come together to try and stop it from wreaking deadly havoc. Nice and short and sweet.
What a monster!
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Nice synopsis, yes. I will say right away now for anyone listening, if you haven't checked out this movie, it is on Netflix, and I learned for this movie, I think, that how to change the actual audio track, because I didn't want to do dubs, so I was able to get to the Norwegian. Yeah. So yeah, that's key. I think that's key. But I enjoyed that. Netflix, and there will be spoilers going ahead at this point. So if you haven't seen it, go to Netflix, check it out. It's solid. That being said, let's get into some thoughts. Angus, since you're the guest, give us some initial thoughts. What do you think of Troll?
I think you nailed it, Joe. From I think the experience that you're going to have with Troll is whether or not you watched the dubbed version or the subtitled version. I watched the dubbed version.
Uh-oh. No.
It was by default. It came on that way. I was like, hey, you know what? We'll just see where it goes. And I was hooked in the first few minutes because, first of all, I don't know how Norwegian translates to English. I would not try to ever ascertain how complicated that would be and what the original language is like. But the film sounded insane. The dubbed version it was crazy. It was like there were times where it felt like I was watching a sketch that somebody was making about a kaiju movie if it was made by Norwegians. And I know I don't want to sound too negative, and I hate being cherry picking and nitpicking and those kind of CinemaSins assholes. But it was so weird in the dub version because the dialogue just all sounded so wooden, blocky. There wasn't much flow to it. But then the movie just felt like it was heavily lifting from 1998's Godzilla. The 1998
the Matthew Broderick one.
Yeah, the Matthew Broderick one. Roland Emmerich. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap, this is like the copy paste of every single opening to a kaiju movie that has been, and then like basically with a weird coat of polish. But I mean, I won't lie to you, it was one of those I loved it, but it felt like at times like I was watching somebody who's only seen like a Michael Bay or Roland Emmerich films.
Yeah.
And like this was like they did a really good job of copying all the things from those kind of movies. There's the aggressive main character who's smarter than everybody else, and oh, I'm a paleontologist, biologist, whatever she was, and talking down to the prime minister and talking down to the military. And then you got like the quirky, goofy guy, sidekick kind of character, and it just you had handsome Captain Chris. There were just all these perfect little pieces that you're like, this would be the exact same movie if they made it in Hollywood. Like there's no like when you hear like it's a Norwegian film and you're thinking, oh okay, I'm going to see a film with different sensibilities for a kaiju movie. Nope, I'm seeing the typical Hollywood kaiju movie by a Norwegian filmmaker instead of Roland Emmerich. That was but I was entertained.
Yeah, that's good.
I was just a little, it felt so formulaic. I really thought I was going to be getting something a little bit more out there.
So I had a similar thought to you, and I think my mind went a different direction with it, though, like with the same idea. So watching it dubbed, I think maybe made it better for me because I was much more like into the dialogue. And I thought it was fine. I thought the dialogue was fine. And so maybe it's a translation. And I think when I first started into it and it was that dubbed, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to change it to subtitles. Cause like, I'm not feeling this. This is not working for me. So I get
Those
why
voice
I get
actors
that.
are awful.
Yeah, it was not
I
great.
don't know how else to say it. Like I
Yeah.
genuinely think, Angus, that would change your review by like a half a star, if not more.
Yeah. But
it really just sorry. I didn't
Yeah,
mean to cut
no,
you
you're
off,
fine,
though.
Khalid.
No, I think I agree. I think you're right. I almost feel like I owe this movie a rewatch at some point with the subtitles just to give them a fair shake, because I think that was like, man, walking around with like half, one arm tied behind your back.
Yeah. So I found it like watching through it, like I was reminded a lot of like things like Jurassic Park, like the 98 Godzilla, like you said. I even thought of like Independence Day in a lot of, I mean, same director, or I guess, or is it same director as Godzilla? It was, yeah. Emmerich? Same vibes there. But the way that I was seeing it, and maybe that's just like, cause it was, I can't really judge acting when it's not in English. I don't really know at all. But I felt to me like the directing of that, or like the writing of that, was like an intentional sort of like almost like very clear homages, very clear like direct references, where like the movie's never really trying to take itself that seriously, but just it's not trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to like a creature feature kaiju movie, but just like play in that sandbox, but just bringing like a fresh like Norwegian mythology into that. And so from that angle, when I was watching it, I was like, I'm really into this now at this point. Like it's taking these familiar elements, but just bringing in like a fresh creature and a fresh mythology. And I was like, I like that. I'm digging that. So I had a lot of fun with it. I liked the characters. I liked the nerdy sidekick guy. He was a blast. His like Star Trek references, and I enjoyed that a lot. But most of all, I mean, it's the creature. Like the creature design, the work behind the VFX was really cool, and we're going to get into that later when we get the monster stuff. But I really enjoyed that elements, and I also just really enjoyed the parts where like they're in like the fjords and the mountains, and like with all the rocks and like the camouflage troll and all that stuff like blending into the surroundings. Like that was super cool to me. I spent some time in Iceland, which is not Norway by any means, but I remember going on some like tours and some like hiking trips into like these like really like rural areas, and that some of the guides would be like, that used to be a troll over there. It was frozen by the sunlight. And I'm like, okay, like I kind of thinking they're joking, but I'm like, they're like not like they're playing it. I'm like, are you joking with me or are you being serious? I cannot tell. Like they're very into it, and like trolls are like troll statues are everywhere. Troll like sculptures and stuff, like wooden carvings of trolls. Like their children's books are all trolls. So it's like a huge thing there. And so like it reminded me of that time I spent there. And so I was kind of just having a good time. Plus, it's like when you're in like a Scandinavian movie, it's always cozy. There's so many cozy sweaters, and I love that.
No, I agree with a lot of. I think you hit a lot of the things that really worked about it was the lore, the design, and again, I don't know what they spent on it, but I wasn't expecting AAA studio special effects, but they did they did an admirable job. I never felt like it never felt like they were going on the cheap. It wasn't like an asylum film. They weren't just trying to like, we have to get an effects shot here. They actually spent some time and effort to develop it, and I appreciated that.
Yeah. Khalid, what did you think? You seem to enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it again because I 30 seconds in immediately switched from dubs to subs. It just that 30 seconds, I could already hear just like the hokey, like over the top, like acting that like, I'm sorry, but that's like 50% of an actor's performance. When you take away like their voice and like their decisions to like sound how they sound when saying these lines, it's just, I don't know how anyone can do it. I mean, kudos to you, Angus, for getting through the movie, but like that was just that 30 seconds was insufferable. So like when I switched over and really just kind of settled into the story, yeah, I picked up on everything you guys have already mentioned. The very, very Roland Emmerich like style action adventure that we got. And I think I fall on the same side of Joe, where it's like, at once you realize like how familiar of the tropes and like the storyline is gonna be, you really just start like appreciating what another nation brings to it, like their sensibilities. You know, a lot of the comedy felt different than something you'd see in an American movie. I think that the overall like the choices that the movie made were always so interesting to me in a way that like it felt like, I don't know if I know Joe doesn't wear glasses, I don't know if you wear glasses, Angus, but like it felt like if you were wearing glasses where the prescription was like just a little bit off, you know, like it still works, but like you can tell, you feel something's off. But overall, yeah, like I think that the cast was really strong. I really loved the location shooting, you know, especially now with like a lot of American blockbusters just being like green screen to death. It's always so nice when you can just be like, oh yeah, those people are at that place doing a thing. And so like when the only CGI creation in the movie is the troll itself, it's just a little nicer when like the actors are engaging with their surroundings for the most part. So I love that about it. And yeah, I don't know. I was really charmed by the whole thing. I think that it was like it's weird to call a big budget action movie like charming or modest, but like just in relation to like what we've seen with like the Transformers movies or even the like newer Godzilla and Kong movies, this just felt really like reserved and focused in a way that was refreshing too. So yeah, that's my initial review of it.
I'll give you that for sure. I think they spent a lot more time on character than those. Like if you look back at all the Roland Emmerich movies and all the disaster movies and all those that whole genre, it's really about the casting, like whether or not you're going to end up liking that movie or not. Like Independence Day, for some people love that movie, some people tear that movie down, but really like Independence Day was successful because Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum and Bill Pullman's, like that's why you liked Independence Day. You liked the people and the characters and the set pieces were good. Because a lot of these movies, especially like in the kaiju genre, the set pieces can be remarkably the same. So really, at the end of the day, the only thing you have is your creature design, your action set pieces, and whether or not you give a shit about the cast. And I think that's the one thing Trolls definitely was like, we want to make you at least know these characters and have a little bit about them, so it's not just random people and there's at least some stakes in it. Plus, it's probably the movie with the handsomest, like you notice there's all these guys in movies named Chris now, like Pine, Pratt, right? But like you don't really hear any characters named Chris in movies. Because I was thinking about that and I was like, Captain Chris. And I was like, here's this super hot Norwegian guy. And he's like, Captain Chris. And I was like, how many Chris's can you think of like in any major action adventure movie named Chris?
Like the
Dang, you're right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wow.
There is a Chris deficit in our entertainment.
So I respect the fact that they were willing to name the toughest character in the movie Chris.
I love that.
Yeah, I guess it would be like naming him like Tyler or something. It just doesn't happen anymore.
This is our master assassin, Keith.
Yeah, or like they give you like a dumb like last name where it's like Keith like Razor or something.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, cool.
I want to see a movie with a character named Keith Razor.
Write it, Angus. Your next film.
Oh man.
Your point about the characters kind of actually brings me into something that I actually wanted to ask you. So, Angus, we didn't say this, that you are also a columnist for Flickering Myth, correct?
Yes.
And I found an article from you from a few years ago that you wrote. It was called "Do Kaiju Movies Need Human Characters?"
Oh,
And
you went deep.
I did go deep, but I was just like, yeah. I mean, when we were doing a kaiju movie, I was like, did you do kaiju writing? And I was like, found it. But you had a quote that I really liked from it that I pulled, and I wanted to ask you about it. You said, "I'm proposing a sort of Terrence Malick approach to the gigantic monster movies, where we see these forces of nature working their way through the world, only moving in and out of the life of those about to be stepped on or eviscerated by the far more fascinating, ferocious, fiery fiends." So you like
I really leaned into that alliteration there, didn't I?
that was fun. That was fun. I like that. But your like thesis is kind of like that these movies, like probably coming from the newer like Godzilla franchise, the American version, like focus so much on like these human characters and their reactions to things, rather than like getting us in as like almost like I would almost argue like the Avengers Endgame Infinity thing, where it's like, let's follow like spend the most time with the antagonist,
Yeah.
and almost through their eyes in a sense, like maybe like we do that with the kaiju film, like start to get that like the understanding of the world through their eyes, like maybe the misunderstanding of the world. And like that is interesting to me in the terms of Troll, because we do get this whole like misunderstanding of like who the troll is as like as a intelligent being in a sense. And so do you like kind of still feel that same way about kaiju films?
I do. As you brought that column up, the first thing I wondered was how high I was when I wrote it. Probably very, based on
Based on
the
the
premise
alliteration.
alone. You did that. It was, oh man, oh thank God we have Chat GPT now to do that for us.
Thank God.
No, I do actually. I wrestle all the time with like movie structure, and as I get older, I kind of like I understand why structures exist and why narrative storytelling perspectives exist. Why you have to have a protagonist, why you have to have an audience proxy. Like all of that makes total sense to me. You know, movies are very much different pieces put together that you really can't always. You have to do because that's what audiences expect. But I was like, I would love to see a kaiju movie just about them, where I don't need like the two characters who may or may not fall in love, trying to save the world, going to the center of the earth in a spaceship, you know, and this secret society of monster hunters. Like, great, really fascinating stuff. But like every kaiju movie has basically been the same. There are variations, obviously, but you know, since the first ones, when did Godzilla come out? Like 64 or 63?
The earliest might have been 50 something. I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
It's
Okay,
50
man.
something, yeah.
I shouldn't pretend like I'm good at film history. But
54.
54. Okay, wow, it's a decade off. So they very much, you know, that the form is the same, and the 3-act structure of films are the same. And I was like, wouldn't it be? And at the time, I think I wrote this article. They were talking about doing an adaptation of a graphic novel called "Dinosaurs versus Aliens," which I've never actually read. It was like I think it was a Grant Morrison piece, but the premise was aliens come down when dinosaurs are ruling the earth, and the aliens and the dinosaurs have some sort of epic battle. And I was like, okay, I would see that movie, and I'd be excited to see that movie because, you know, if it's just aliens and they don't ever actually show the aliens, like it's like an Independence Day armada of aliens and then a bunch of dinosaurs. Like, I could spend 2 hours in a theater watching that play out with no major human protagonist needing to guide me into the story, because that's always what they do. Oh, you have to have somebody to bring you into the story. With a kaiju movie, it can't be about Kong. It's got to be about the people who go to get Kong. So yes,
Right, it's got to be like the divorced dad, just like
yes, thank you. And those tropes and those cliches, they exist for a reason. And I'm not saying like, you know, that they're always bad, but I would love to see a Terrence Malick style naturalist filmmaker or somebody do a movie. And if there's someone's already done one and somebody knows one, please let me know, because I'd love to watch it. But I'd love to see a movie that's about a creature and that experience of the creature's experience dealing with humanity or dealing with, you know, its own world. Even if there were no human people there, it was on an alien civilization and it's a giant creature. I like the idea of sort of seeing a movie from the creature's perspective and making it about the creature. And again, yes, it's not going. You're not going to be able to hammer that into the 3-act Save the Cat, Sid Field mold. But I'm not asking for every kaiju movie to be that way. I'm just asking, does every kaiju movie have to have that same basic human proxy? Can't we just make a movie about a monster? And again, will it work? I don't know. Someone's got to make one first, but I think it can.
I think that hits to a point that probably most kaiju films are seen as very expensive, and like when a studio is like throwing a ton of money at a movie, they probably like, oh, let's do something that's tried and true. Like, don't be too like experimental with it. And so like I think about like Colossal as a really experimental kaiju film, and that was a really low budget one, but they really made it work. And like it's like it seems like that like low budget indie like sandbox is kind of where they can go with something like that. So I agree with you. I would love to see something like that, and I think that would be a blast. And I also think Troll, in a sense, maybe proves that you don't have to have like a Hollywood budget to make a kaiju film too. So like maybe this might open up like doors for people to make some more interesting takes on the genre.
I mean,
Hopefully.
Netflix was about to spend $150 million on a Nancy Meyers romantic comedy. Why not spend $150 million making a kaiju movie that's just about the kaiju?
Please.
Angus, those ovens are not cheap, all right? Like, Nancy Myers gave them a modest number, okay?
Turtlenecks and pearl necklaces, they are expensive these days.
She made The Parent Trap, all right? Like, if that's not a blank check, I don't know what is. I do think that Aliens versus Dinosaurs is an interesting plot, but like I don't understand what the battle would look like because it's not like the dinosaurs are fighting in unison, right? Like it would be like humans versus like cows. It's just one side is like actually strategizing and the other side is an animal.
Yeah, I actually, now that I said that out loud, I should probably go back and read that because I am a Grant Morrison fan, and again, there has to be some thread, of somebody, even if it's a dinosaur that you're following throughout the entire thing. There has to be somebody for the audience to attach to.
Yeah, and that's the tough part when you have no humans in a story is like really giving whatever is the protagonist a personality or like some characteristics to like root for.
Yeah, I just realized that I've become George Costanza, pitching the show about nothing for kaiju.
Well, surely it's about something, right?
No, it's just about the monster. You don't need the people. Yeah.
Right, but like the monster like goes to the dentist or something, right?
No, he's just being a monster trying to survive and fend off attackers.
I'd watch that sketch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I will say like the action set pieces were really well done. My favorite would have to be the helicopter bells.
Oh, that was really cool. Yeah, that was a fun, like, unique, like mythology based thing.
Yeah, and it was so fun, and like I'm not like while I was watching it for a second, I was like, well, wouldn't they just always be rocking and like you just hear them coming in? Why did they like how did they like execute the bell ring when
Yeah.
they got there? But that's just like it's a dumb movie in that regard. It's a bunch of helicopters with bells attached are circling a troll. So
Yeah.
if you're asking questions past that point, I don't know what to tell you.
I also really enjoyed when those things like the things like that where they're like, oh, the trolls hate the bells, so let's use that. Like when those little things would pop up, like the one time when they're hiding from the troll and they look over to the guy praying and they're like, oh shit, it's a Christian. He's gonna eat it, like because they like trolls hate Christians, I guess. So that was just a really funny thing to me.
Thank you for bringing that up, man. This is wild. Like that's one of the things that you will probably not see in a Roland Emmerich or any kind of American big budget action film. Is like just straight shots at Christianity. Like,
oh yeah,
in no uncertain terms, like just blaming Christianity for this was like fascinating to see, especially from like a white like Eurocentric nation. So what did you guys think about that? I know what I thought about that, but I'm interested to hear what you guys thought.
Well, I thought that anything that disparages our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is just truly no. All right. Wanted to see how long I could keep that going for. No, it was. That's what I respected about the film is they didn't. They leaned into like the weird stuff, like again, like all the lore and the bells, and that was another aspect of it. It didn't seem like they had any problem at all with creating sort of a weird world around this creature, and I respected that. So I thought, again, I couldn't tell the barrier, the culture barrier. Sometimes what was meant to be funny, like on the nose, and what was sort of meant to be a little bit more subtle. The Christianity piece definitely felt unsubtle. It felt like somebody had something to say. Somebody had a really bad experience at Catholic school and really wanted to make sure that the Christians knew their displeasure.
I just think that that's such a fun way to like expand your world and like really interact with like human history, you know? Because like sometimes like you know like the Transformers movies, I think like some of them have like gone all the way back to like King Arthur time. So now like in that universe, like King Arthur had a Transformer, and it's just like goofy stuff like that. But then like with this one, it's just like, hey, what if like colonialism and just like widespread suppression of culture was a bad thing? And it's like, oh, wasn't expecting to wrestle with that.
Yeah, you weren't expecting to get that deep, and yet there we were.
Yeah, but it did it. It did it well. Like it wasn't. The movie knows what it is, insofar as like again, it's like a dumb action movie, and so it doesn't like try to get on any kind of soapbox about it. It's just like a really fun detail of like how this could come to be, and it works for me. It's like, yeah, actually, if you're talking about like our history of like every other religion and culture being like reduced to like just vague fairy tales and stuff like that, then we probably would be unprepared for a real threat that old cultures addressed.
Well, you know, everything, I think you're absolutely right about that. But just as a counterpoint, I want everything in the Bible, it was real. And and Jesus rode dinosaurs into Nazareth. And yeah.
He fought aliens on the dinosaurs.
There it is. Great circle back.
I also really liked what felt super real was like the government and military's like extreme reluctance to like buying into the troll of it all, even after like no doubt about it in our minds what we are looking at is like the closest thing to like to define it as a troll, and they still are like resistant to Nora's like suggestions on like, well, there's like all this like folklore on trolls, like folklore, we need a nuke. And that felt very very real to like humankind of like, we don't care about this thing's backstory. It is a giant thing attacking us, and we will just blow it up like we do anything else.
I thought that was one of the things about the movie that I felt like they were kind of stretching a little bit, was in the opening, you know, you have the scenes with the monster when it's clearly a monster, but they haven't really shown it yet. And like, so all that space of time between like them finally getting some footage of showing the monster, revealing it, all the things with the footprints, it felt like in the modern world, it would be much, much easier to have gotten some images.
Like 15 people with like cell phone footage of that thing on like a hashtag cell phone Discord.
Yeah, it
or
was
like troll Discord. Sorry.
But I know they were trying to wait for that. They wanted that giant eyeball reveal. You know, they wanted that. Like, that was their marketing moment, and so they kind of wanted that to be the first reveal scene. But after a while, I was like, somebody surely somewhere can. Are there no helicopters in Norway? Do they not have the ability to fly a news chopper to an area? And
I had my questions about it too, but like that's actually what ended up making the first half of this movie like probably my favorite part of it overall, was like the build up to like when they'll actually get visual confirmation. Because like the whole time I was just like, is it going to be some dumb magic thing of like, you can only see it if you believe it? Because they kept saying that, you know, or Tobias said it at the beginning of the movie. And then you find out, no, it's just camouflage. So like people keep thinking they see a like mountain and it's the troll hiding. That's
That was great.
such a cool reveal, and like really just like retroactively made the search for it that much more like gratifying.
Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah, I did too. The reveal scene was great. It was fun. I love the guy who played the father. I kept calling him Norwegian Randy Quaid. Like he just.
I was thinking he was Norwegian Judd Hirsch, because like
yeah,
Nora's like the Goldblum, right?
Yeah, he had Hirsch energy for sure.
Very big Hirsch energy, and then obviously the Quaid came out when he's like pantless and like mud faced, just like raving at his place.
I was really hoping the movie would follow him more. That was sort of I was like, the crazy guy there. It's always like you have to have like the crazy guy, and then like his daughter or son or somebody like the Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston and Aaron. You know, it's like you have this really interesting driven, obsessive, intense character, and then you kill him off 20 minutes in, so that Aaron Taylor Johnson can sit there and look blank faced for the rest of the movie and inexpressive, and you're like, bring back the angry old guy. He was so much more interesting. I
Oh
had
my
that same
God.
complex with Troll. I was like, let's just make the whole thing about Crazy Dad. What's Crazy Dad doing right now?
Crazy Dad would have made for a way more interesting movie. On that we agree. What did you get? I really like the sunlight thing too, because like the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, oh cool, it's another movie about like an overcast like country or something. And then it became a part of the plot in a way that I wasn't expecting. I don't know. I even as I say it, I wonder like, was it like a cheap like thing to just be like, well, it was daylight, but it wasn't. Like, what do you guys think?
It's a good. I mean, the sunlight stuff from the mythologies for sure, but like, I mean, it's a good way to the fact that it's overcast is a good way for them to like initially dismiss that element of mythology. Like, it's obviously not working because it's daytime, but then
Yeah.
like to think like, oh, it needs that direct ray or whatever. Like that was kind of interesting. I don't know how like scientifically accurate it is. Like, I mean, elements of the sun is still getting through on overcast, but I guess I don't know. But I thought it was a fun like narrative thing. Yeah,
It's not the UV radiation that kills them. It's the magical glittery
exactly.
sunbeams.
Yeah,
The
like
beam.
it's the beam that gets you. Which, come on,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I will give the movie points because in while I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's clever. And then like into the actual like sunny day, and you see the difference, and it's like, okay,
It
that's
does look different. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't
So
know. I'll be honest. I just saw Norway as, and I was like, that's just what it always looks like. I don't. I'm basing it on nothing, but like when I saw it overcast, I just assumed that's what it always looks like.
that's just what it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious about so the when you texted me, Clete, about watching it, you said about the ending really snuck up on you, the like the troll genocide reveal. So I'm curious you guys' thoughts on like that ending. Like I thought that was a kind of a really unique way to tie like the creature's motivations into like the history of the country, like kind of like Angus, you were saying, like bring it back to the history a little bit and like build upon that, where like the idea of like what we see as like modern day like Norwegian like monarchy or society, like there's like, oh, it's tradition to build your like palace on top of an old king's palace, and so like they wiped
Mhm.
out the trolls and built their palace on top of it, and so underneath there's this like all this like all these dead troll skulls and stuff, and like that was a pretty kind of jarring moment, like having like getting to know that this troll character that we're kind of following is like a little more sympathetic, like he saved the kid at one point and all that, has more intelligence, and then you see like all these dead ones. I was like, oh my god, like that's it's kind of gruesome in a sense, but I thought that was a really fascinating like way for the movie to go. What do you guys think of that?
Hard agree. Yes, they uh, to try to give, I mean, any level of sympathy and making it making the creature a character, not so much just as a set piece. You
Yeah.
know, like is in your kaiju movie, is your creature monster going to be a hurricane or a earthquake or a meteor, or is it going to be a thing with a feelings, perspective, worldview, its own history? And I think yes, they the respect for the creature by the filmmakers and the creators was definitely there, and I'm with you. I would watch a movie about, you know, again, like the troll genocide and a troll. You know, there's things in that movie. I don't know if anybody else would be interested in seeing that kind of movie, but I certainly would. And I do. I like the fact that they made that effort because I think most movies don't. Like even the new, the Godzilla, King Kong, all those ones. Like there's a basic structure to why these things are fighting and why they're there. But the reality is, nobody watched any of those movies and thought, "Oh, that's a real character. I really have."
Mm.
You know, there's really no effort made, but they made an effort in Troll, so you have to appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think that the whole reveal of the troll remains in the castle was like just such a neat as in like clean, like a very clean allegory to like indigenous peoples and this idea of like the land you're seeing and like the present day people you're seeing on it like are not the originators of that land. And like most places, more often than not, like a great tragedy transpired to like get you to this place. And I think that again, like this movie does a good job of like lightly playing with that idea without like trying to turn the movie itself into an essay about it. And it really works for the troll's motivation because from that point on, I was kind of on the troll side. I was always on the troll side, to be honest, just in the sense that like it's like just one cool troll. He seems to just be minding his own business, and then like gets blown up out of a mountain. So that's not his fault. But that backstory was like fascinating, and it was a little bit of an expositional dump when like what is it, the king of Oslo or Norway is
he was the chief of court, which I think is like a official librarian or something. I don't know.
I'm gonna assume he's the Alfred to the king of Norway.
Yeah, he had access to all the queen's cars or whatever.
Yeah, and real quick side note about how he just so casually mentions that they did actually run like a psyop campaign on Nora's dad.
Yeah.
And everything he said was right. And she, like, this was the one part where it was like a real cultural difference for me, where I was just like, oh, wow, she's just going to let that slide and keep moving. I know her dad is already dead and they can't do anything about it, but I would have some more words if I found out that like the government was gaslighting my mom or dad.
Once again, when you have a Randy Quaid in a movie, they're going to be proven right.
That's true. Yep. The Randy Quaids of these types of movies are always vindicated. So.
You think he's crazy, but oh no, he was right all along.
But the dad could also mention like, oh yeah, by the way, I had this whole like series of adventures with like the King of Norway's butler back in the day. He can verify a lot of this. But no, I thought that was all just done really well, and just it was a really heartbreaking moment. Like when I texted you about it, it was like very sad when you see like, and they did that thing with scale where it's like everything's bigger than the humans, but you can still tell they're like kids' bones.
Yeah,
it was like so sad.
Like when the troll picks up the skull there too at the end. In the end, like that was super sad.
They bait him with the skull of a child. Like the more I say this, like the more I'm thinking like, are we the baddies? Like like that meme? Like
Team Troll, yeah.
Yeah. Who watches kaiju movies though and roots for the human characters? I mean, let's be honest here. There's two kinds of people. There's the people that watch these movies and go, "Oh, I really hope they can defeat that dastardly monster." And then there's those of us that are like, "Please destroy everything. Please, it's a film. It's fiction. Go ahead, monster. Just beat the shit out of everyone. Destroy the city." And you were talking about the ending earlier, and I forgot to mention, I liked it because it wasn't a blow up everything ending.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you can do a movie especially a kaiju movie, and you can make the ending not be a massive, third act Disney-esque, 1,000 spaceships on one side, 1,000 on the other, firing at each other until you can't even tell what's going on. This kind of ending is what I wish more filmmakers would explore in these kind of movies. It kind of reminded me of like the end of Doctor Strange. The original, the first one, when it's the whole bargain. I've come to bargain, Dormammu.
Yeah.
Like I wish more movies would like think of a clever way to do something.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't involve like we're going to fire a tactical nuke and that's do something fun. Do something different.
What if like most conflicts didn't just end in murder? Like in movies and stuff like that. Like it's just, it always comes, even these like superheroes who like spend most of the movie just like avoiding murdering people or like making like big points about how they can't murder people wind up in the third act just like blowing up or like disintegrating the villain. And it's just, that's still murder, dude.
Right. And kaiju movies, you don't care. Kaiju movies, you go, I mean, again, when you go to watch Jurassic World, or are you really like, boy, I sure hope these people survive these dinosaurs? Like, isn't half the fun watching these people like teetering like bait on a hook? About to get like that's fun.
It's a spectacle. You're seeing the creatures do their thing.
Yes.
Endings are hard, though.
Less of Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard's awkward relationships. I don't need it. I don't care. Nobody cares. We just want to see the dinosaur. Oh, it's underwhelming? Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colin Trevorrow. I really appreciate that.
Scathing.
Joe, my last thing on the movie, I would be remiss to not bring up the many Trek references.
There were many. I enjoyed that.
And I was like, Joe must love all of this.
Yeah, I did enjoy that really like silly little relationship between the quirky, like nerdy advisor guy, and then like one like tech girl, and they like always would do the Vulcan salute at each other, and
Yeah.
it's like she's my Spock to my Kirk.
And then when he tells her to
that.
make it so.
Yeah, it
She
was
has to
so.
hack the.
They're so cheesy, but I really loved it. Yeah, I really loved it.
It's fun, and like just
Yeah.
like that whole like it's like it's an American thing, but like for them to adopt it is I don't know. There's just something like really cool about how universal Trek is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. A lot of this played almost like a Star Trek episode to me. Just like the ethics of like dropping a nuke on a place with like a monster that could like do even more damage and
Last of its kind of storyline.
Yeah,
that's all they do a ton of Star Trek. Yeah.
And just like that full rounded like both sides of it all that they really explored was very Trek to me.
Yeah. I want to get in the monster here and like the background effect stuff, but I had one more thought. This is totally like probably nothing, but there is that part where they did the montage of the global news anchors talking about the creature. And like the Japanese one was like, oh, it's a Norwegian Godzilla. And I love that. But I was like, could we reasonably assume that this is a world where they're just like, Godzilla exists? That's their version of it. Like, is Godzilla real in this universe? Or is that just a pop culture reference that the anchor's making?
I think that somebody in that like conference room would have like mentioned other kaiju.
I think so too. That's where I was at. I was like, it was more wishful thinking on my own that they'd be like, this is just a world of kaijus. But I think that's what it was.
If you knew kaijus existed, you wouldn't be looking at giant footprints going methane gas explosion.
Oh
That's
yeah.
true.
No way
That's
footprints. It doesn't happen in Norway.
What is feet that big? All of that was so great. And like the way she just comes in, is like, all right, are we just like joking here? Are we just like farting around?
Those are footprints, right? Yeah.
But she had to have her badass moment to show that she doesn't take shit from anybody. She's going to walk in. Doesn't matter if it's the most powerful leaders in the world. Damn it, she knows those are footprints. You have to have the Nora character is always the most fun in these movies. It's the one who just like they never swing and miss. It's always figuring out for the most part. And then they spend the whole movie, and then she has that little transformational change at the end where she feels bad, and there's like that guilt, and and that's the one thing I think in American versions of that movie they don't usually do. Like normally nobody's like, we're about to defeat the monster, and someone goes, oh, the poor monster. Most of the time they just do it. I guess like King Kong and stuff, you always had that beauty. 'Twas beauty that killed the beast. So the sympathetic monsters I think are always the more interesting ones, but I do think the characters usually end up going, well, it's sad that it's dead, but it's probably better. We all have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that worked really well. But shall we monster?
Let's do it. Let's monster.
All right. So in this part of the podcast, Angus, so I just I bring up stuff about like the behind the scenes stuff, or maybe like the mythology about the monster specifically. And there was actually a lot of really cool background information about the creation of the creature in this movie. There was a company called Ghost VFX that worked on this, and they have a whole article that they just like detailed the process, which I'll link in the show notes if anyone wants to read more. But it's an interview with the VFX supervisor on this project. His name is Klaus Kogsball, I think it was. Yeah, they're from Copenhagen, so Denmark. But they there's a quote that I pulled that I thought was interesting, talking about like the conception. He says, "Quote: the creation of the troll included everything from sculpting the base model, his facial expressions, and all surface details, to developing simulation workflows, building the rig and underlying muscle structure, as well as texturing and shading the asset. Basically, it all had to be done to a level that would hold up in extreme close-up. So they're thinking of that." And huge parts of the troll's surface were covered with vegetation, and the skin was partly turned into chunks of rock that all needed to move independently from each other, resulting in an extremely complex model that still needed to work across all studios, even though they didn't necessarily use the same tools and software packages. So the interesting thing to me to take from that quote is like the consideration of like this being like a creature made of rock, and like how the rock will move differently in different parts of the body, and how to make that feel realistic. And so they like had to work across like multiple platforms to like get that, especially, and like also the extreme close-ups to make it like not feel like you're looking at CGI the whole time, even though I mean you kind of know it, but still like they added like that texture and almost like that emotionality. He goes on later in the article to talk about like the feelings and the emotionality of the troll being like a really important element to like when they were like coming up with like how the face should look, and like you could tell, like you should be able to tell like the emotions that they're feeling. And so like I thought that was a really cool like thing to know, like that was being under consideration and seeing the monster.
It was. I mean, it's pretty amazing and pretty impressive the amount of work they had to put into that. I mean, do we know what the film cost? 'Cause that was my first thought. I was like, what did they spend on this? Because it didn't look cheap. It definitely, they did a good job. One of the things about Norway, I was kind of curious. I don't know the weather in Norway. I have no experience in that area, but it feels like that slightly overcast sky is like always perfect shooting conditions when you're making a movie, because a little natural diffusion is just like kind of gives everything a nice even light to it. And so I was like, is Norway always that way, or did they just pick that mood because it would make the lighting easier? But it feels like it worked, because every shot, even like the plate shot or the shots you just see of the actors before they kind of cut over to the troll, the integration of that is really, really good, and not what I was expecting of a. I mean, not that Netflix movies are cheap anymore, but I wasn't expecting to be as good as it was. The reveal scene, I was genuinely like, oh, somebody did some really good work on that. There's some really good effects work happening there.
Oh, the eye opening.
Yes.
Me. That's when I was like, oh, they're going to do right by this. It was just, it stuck with me so hard. It was such a well done, like just the design in the eye was so great.
Yeah, so detailed. And another interesting piece that they said in that article is that they actually considered bringing it to life using motion capture, but they actually went away from that just because they were thinking about the scale of the creature. And like when like a person's moving, they're like, it's going to look too fast and too weird and unrealistic for how something of that size and that weight would move more lumberingly. So they were thinking about that in a different way. Like it's going to look like it's moving much slower. And so like a staggering 50-meter high beast. So like considering the speed of motion. And I thought that was kind of interesting too.
You know what I like what they did in this film, which I don't see in so many kaiju movies these days? They knew where to put the camera.
Yeah.
It wasn't like so close and trying to kind of do those whip pans all over the place to kind of give you the ground's eye perspective of it. The camera went back when it needed to. They went wide when they needed to see the whole creature. Mm-hmm. And I wish more movies did that, but I think sometimes, I don't know if it's just a budget thing or whether it's just an over directing thing. But it always feels like when you see those any kind of movies like Pacific Rim 2 comes to mind, like they're trying to film a kaiju like a John Wick scene, where it's like two characters kind of going at it and using those same kind of angles. So I like the fact that the filmmakers, the cinematographer, everybody, they let you look at it, long holding shots of the creature so you could actually see it. So it's not just some sort of blur in the background, while the human, like that, when the helicopter is taking off, like there's a good 10, 12 second shot, I think, of just like the monsters standing up. And I'm like, why don't more filmmakers actually show the cool thing all these people worked on?
Yeah. It's like when you spend that much time working on it, like show us it, like, let's see it.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, I definitely had like Cloverfield vibes from this, but obviously they actually showed it this time around, and that's probably like one of the big reasons why like we don't think about Cloverfield as like a top kaiju film, is that they cheat and don't show it that often.
I was going to do my little cough. Gareth Edwards, Godzilla. I want to see the creatures. That's really what I'm paying for. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's a fantastic actor, very talented guy, rumored to be the next James Bond. I didn't need to see his face that much and then have entire battles cloaked in darkness where I couldn't tell what was happening. I'm sorry. I'm going to be that guy.
Fair. I think it's absolutely fair. Like, and that's like I feel like it's a criticism of those movies. They're so long too. Those Godzilla films, like the new ones.
Well, because you needed all those shots of
all his face.
I mean, how much did you pay Elizabeth Olsen? And you just need those moments of her just looking up, with her mouth half open. That's really what people want to see. When you spend $18 on that IMAX ticket to go see Godzilla, what you really want is close-ups of Millie Bobby Brown with a smile on her face. I don't give a shit about these monsters over here fighting in the rain. What's Millie doing?
Well, give the people what they want, right?
Right. There you go.
Whatever people want that, I hate them.
Just direct. Yeah.
We're not recording this, right?
Between us. Do you guys know a whole lot about, like, other than what the movie told us, like Norse mythology about trolls?
No, I
A
mean,
little.
Thor fights them.
Yeah. No, I did a little, like, sometimes in our podcast we try to do like some of the mythology of like the monster and like what it's based on. Um, but in this case, like a lot of it's in the movie, like this, like sunlight, the church bells, the like the thing with the Christians and the churches, like that's all like in a lot of the traditions. So, but Norse mythology is like mostly like handed down orally, so it's always difficult to get like a real grasp of like that. And I think that they even make that point in the movie that some of the stories are all over the place. But the big thing that I thought was I kind of took from some of the research I did that was interesting is that usually there's two types of trolls in these mythologies. There's the forest or mountain troll. That's kind of what we see. The mountain king troll. He's like, they're generally depicted as large, kind of dumb, brutish, like large Neanderthals. But they also have like cave trolls that are supposed to be these ones that live completely underground, and they're like smaller than humans, like like more round and stubby. So like I think about like for the cave trolls would be like the little ones we see in Frozen, like those little like rock troll things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's like the difference there. There's two different kind of like levels or whatever. But yeah, there's like you mentioned, Khalid, another thing that wasn't in the movie is they often say like weaknesses of trolls is lightning because of their run-ins with Thor. Yeah. But yeah, you could like go into rabbit hole upon rabbit hole about like troll and North mythology myths, but there's so much. But that's just like a really general sense of some of the interesting things I thought when I was looking into it. But the movie did, just reading some of the stuff, like movie did a really good job of like actually using some of those real like mythology pieces. And so I again, like that was a strength of the film, and I think that certainly shows.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Killy, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, it all felt like real lore that they were like leaning on. And they made like the jokes about like, isn't that vampires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, like I think it's with the subject matter of like trolls, where there is such a deep, rich history, it would have been ridiculous not to incorporate it or to
Yeah,
just
that'd be foolish.
like making up your own rules. I mean, we've seen those vampire movies that make up rules about what vampires can and can't do, and it just feels weird. Like you have the rules, just make if you're going to use them, make the rules apply.
Right, you've got this history, you've got this. I mean, this whole thing. As somebody who writes, I can tell you the fact that if you already have rules established and things you can add in, weaknesses, vulnerabilities, that's the work. That's someone doing the work for you. All you need to do is take that stuff and apply it to the script. I mean, I was comparing it earlier to a Roland Emmerich film, but there's probably more attention paid to the lore and the actual stuff than Roland Emmerich. I mean, like think about like in Godzilla, his version of Godzilla. I think there's a title sequence where you see a nuclear bomb detonation off the Bikini Atoll, and then you see a lizard, just like footage of a lizard, and then like there you go. That's Godzilla. See nukes, Pacific Ocean, lizard. All right.
I remember that too.
Now let's find out about what's wrong with Matthew Broderick's relationship. He won't commit. Oh God. Oh, I always love when the guy won't commit in a Godzilla movie.
I think the next Godzilla should be a marriage counselor. That's how you really like bring it all around and like make the human elements of it a little more compelling.
Oh God, that'd be actually. That's funny. They you do an entire movie. You do an entire movie about a couple in therapy, and one of them is a reporter, and the other one is like a nuclear biologist. And while they're in therapy, a kaiju attacks the city, and they have to try and save the world while completing their therapy appointment. It's one location, limited special effects. Oh my God, guys! I think you've just came up with a concept for a very easily produced genre film.
There you go. That's why we do these things.
It feels very colossal.
Joe mentioned it earlier. I like Colossal. I thought it was a very, very well done film.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Too, yeah.
You know,
I was super jealous. Super jealous of the creator. Because it's just smart, funny.
Yeah,
good take on that. That kind of movie. No, anytime you see something, you're like, dang, that was really good. Little envy.
Agreed.
I don't know why, but this movie really like just made me think more and more about like the news, like how the news lately has just been like sort of like priming us for aliens arriving. I don't know if you guys have been picking up on that, but it really, really hit that, like struck a chord with me in that regard of just like the anxiety I've had about that, of like what that would even look like. And this felt like a good approximation of what might go down. Just
It's
just in terms of
interesting.
like response and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like with the news showing it. Because like you got to think, like if you're in America and you watch the news and you see a troll is rampaging through Norway, what does that mean for you? Like, what do you do about do you go to work the next day? Do you still like care about the same things, or is it like did reality just like open up in a way that you never imagined it would? And I'm so curious. I mean, I don't think that the movie would have been better off showing like a bunch of characters that were immaterial, like reckoning with that, but like that was like the thing that was really sitting with me of like, okay, you have confirmation the world is as fantastical as you thought it might be.
It's that the difficulty for a writer in a situation like this is, again, like, where do you put your humans? There's only so many options you really have in this. You can either go like a full ensemble movie where it's like a disaster film. It's Poseidon Adventure, it's Earthquake. You just have these different stories that take place in different places. And then the monster is just there to sort of find out, will they get together in the end? Will he save his daughter? Can he escape in time? Or you have to sort of do they're directly involved with the confrontation of this monster. They're a journalist, you're a scientist, you work for the military, you're brought in at the last minute. So it's so like you get to a point with those characters where it is nice to see something a little different, but they still kind of went that same basic route. But I like what Khalid's proposing here, because it seems like what he said is that you're saying that like news is releasing snippets about aliens to prepare us for an alien invasion, so when it happens, it doesn't seem weird to us.
Yeah. I mean,
okay, I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure I'd heard that right.
Yeah. I think they're soft launching aliens and really just getting us to like wrap our heads around it. And I mean, obviously, it's probably nothing, but also like I see more and more headlines about it lately, and all I can think is just like, what does that do for like what changes? Does anything change?
It's funny. It's like there's a joke that it made me think of. There's a joke about a guy who has his friend watch a cat. He's on vacation. He comes back and he's like, "Hey, how's my cat?" He's like, "Oh, your cat's dead." And he's like, "Well, that's you could have told me a little better." He's like, "Well, what do you mean? How could I have told you better?" And he's like, "Well, the first time I called to check in, you could have said the cat's I can't find the cat. And then the second time I call in, you could say, you found the cat. It's on the roof, but it won't come down. And then the next time you could have said, you got the cat down when you got down and eaten something, and I think it was sick, and then it died." He's like, "So you kind of slowly work me into it." He's like, "Okay, well, next time I'll know that." And he goes, "Oh, so how's mom?" And he says, she's on the roof and she won't come down. That felt like I was like, so now we're doing that with aliens. We're like, UFOs aren't real. Nothing happened in Roswell. And then it's, well, there's definitely unidentified aerial phenomena, but we don't know where they're from. So we're like in phase 2. So it was like 40 years of denial. And now we're going to be in like 40 years of them every once in a while going, there was a spaceship hovering over Phoenix, but we don't know what it was there for. And then eventually it's going to be, we've been talking to the aliens, and they might want to come and visit us if we get our act together. And then the next time it's like, by the way, we made a deal. They're now our overlords, and now you have to go to the cobalt mines.
Oh no.
Well, I guess that's a real soft launch. That's more of like boiling a frog versus like throwing it in a hot pot of water. I feel like that's what that turned into. But I guess I'm just saying, look out for aliens, guys. They're out there. They're coming. Feels like it's
alien invasion confirmed.
I feel like just out of moving us along, I have to circle back to like 10 minutes ago when you guys were talking about relationships and say, speaking of relationships, Khalid.
Wow, Joe.
That was a good one. Would you fight or would you flirt with the troll in this movie?
I would 110% flirt with this monster. Like what? The poor sap. And I know I usually have like a history of like, it's a kaiju and it couldn't see me, and what kind of relationship would it be? This guy could see a little kid and not step on him. I think that he very much like the scale of him is like just enough that like he's big, but like not like impossibly big, because like when he was like walking through the city and stuff like that, there were still buildings taller than him. So like I think that scale wise it's manageable, but more than that, he's just like a big old softy. We woke him up. His whole family's gone, and he seems to like understand humans, and that's a big like factor in being in a relationship with it. So yeah, I mean, for those reasons and a million more, like I would love to just uh, roam the Norwegian countryside with him and like help him avoid sunlight and just talk shit about like how Christianity like screwed him over, because that sounds like a great conversation.
I was really excited, Khalid, for your answer to this, because I know how much you scoff through the fight or flirt segments in all the kaiju films, and I was like, I think this is going to be the one to get you.
Yeah, no, I
Yep.
mean, if they're all like gentle giants like him, like,
Yeah.
comparatively gentle, he did murder many,
He did
and
a few.
eat a couple.
Yeah.
But
Christians, though.
in self-defense,
Yeah.
So I think he would just be so fun, and we would just come up with like so many fun activities, and like really just the vacations alone would be so just memorable. I think, like we wouldn't go to like any like sunny areas, obviously, but the places we did go would be great. Like a weekend in Amsterdam. That sounds pleasant and a little
Yeah.
overcast.
Yeah, you can find the overcast places, Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. I would have the weather channel on one screen, and then like the Travelocity on the other, and we would just base our trips on that.
I think you guys are going to need a kicker at the end. It says Frankenstein's podcast does not endorse the killing of Christians is justifiable.
Yeah. So we're going to take that snippet and put it at the end there. Yeah, good idea.
Unless you're a troll. Unless you're an troll.
Right. Justifiable if you're a troll.
Yeah, that's a centuries-old grudge. I'm not going to get into that.
Fair.
So you would flirt?
Undoubtedly. I assume you would too.
Of course, yeah. I love it for all the same reasons. Yeah, it's a great call. I like, so they Troll has a tail. That was interesting.
I was surprised by that.
I was surprised by that. Troll, I don't think we see reproductive organs.
No dong.
So yeah. I wasn't sure.
Paused and went up to the screen and looked very closely.
Okay, I'm glad I'm the only one who wasn't thinking about it.
No, because they make him like anatomically like a male human in every other regard, with the beard and everything. I get it, like you don't want this like.
No, you don't want that.
Even This Is the End, which actually went there and gave their giant monster a big swinging penis. Like,
it's the first Scandinavian film I've ever seen where they didn't go full frontal.
Is that your usual experience with Scandinavian films?
Oh my goodness! Back in I'm old. Back in the day, like Swedish Scandinavian films were basically like equating to like softcore pornography. Like that was sort of the reputation of Scandinavian films.
Real quick, more like Scandinavian.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. I had to get that.
That was good. That was good.
That was quality.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, anyway, that was fun. We are going to move on to our final segment of the show. Angus, if you've listened before, we at the end we move on from the monster movie and we just do a segment called it's called What the Fandom. And the What the Fandom segment is just where we go around and share something that we are into at the moment. That could be reading, listening to, watching a show, movie, anything, just something that we'd recommend to listeners that doesn't have to be related to the movie, doesn't have to be related to monsters even at all, just something that we're kind of digging at the moment. So I did spring this one. This one I didn't say in the email, I realized. So I sprung this one on you. So I'll let you go last.
Thank you.
And so we'll start with Khalid. What the fandom with you this week?
Thanks for asking, Joe. This week, my What the Fandom is going to be the video game, I guess, series, The Last of Us.
Okay.
Yeah. So like millions of us, I was watching the series and loving every minute of it. And I'd played the first video game a long time ago. And so it had been long enough that I had forgotten the plot, but the show just did such a great job of honoring the story that The Last of Us like set out with, and the casting is amazing. So if you haven't yet, please watch that. That's not my What the Fandom, but it's just a nice little recommendation. But when the first season ended, I was like, oh man, like I really want to like see where this goes. And everybody was saying that the show basically like faithfully told the plot of the game beat for beat. So I was like, well, there's already a sequel if I'm willing to just jump mediums. So I started playing Last of Us Part 2, and it is amazing. The world building is so thoughtful and just elaborate, and there's so much detail to it. I think that the storyline in the sequel is even better, and it just has so much to say about humanity and the things that drive us, and the things that drive us sometimes being the things that bring our downfall. And it's a sweet, sad, bittersweet story about like the apocalypse that it's right up there with like Station 11 for me, which has definitely been a what the fandom for me in the past. And that like I'm always like really interested in the post-apocalypse stories that are concerned with what like maintaining our humanity really means, and like getting to the core of that, and like finding like some profundity in it. And this game just has that in spades. So yeah, if you guys haven't played any of the games yet, I really recommend it. If you've only played the first one, I really recommend getting The Last of Us Part 2, especially if you want to see where the show is going to be going in the next couple of years. And
Spoiler
just like
alert.
just imagining the fan casting and everything like that. Yeah, if you want to spoil it for yourself, basically. But yeah, definitely check it out. Last of Us 1 and 2.
Dope.
Joe, what the fandom with you?
Thanks, Khalid. Just one for you this week, huh?
Just one. I almost recommended the original taking of Pelham 123, but I didn't want to get greedy.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. I this week it's weird for me because you are always the music guy. I actually have a music thing this week, Khalid.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm recommending. This is a recommendation that I actually got from my brother-in-law, Luke Johnson, who was on the podcast talking about Star Wars many episodes prior. But
Ooh.
he sent me the link to this, and I've been absolutely digging it. It's the new album from Little Simz. She's a British rapper, and the album is called No Thank You. It's her 5th album, actually, I think. But I am in love with it. It's just got this like chill, like hip hop kind of vibe that kind of uh reminds me a little bit of Mac Miller in a sense, but yeah, but she's got like soul, like funk, even a little gospel in there, like blues. There's just these really like cool vibes to it. Sometimes she'll have like a really cool like orchestral background, but I'm really enjoying it. It's just like really nice, like driving in the car music, like put on while I'm doing chore music, and it's just it's cool vibes. So I've been it's kind of been in my ears for most of the last week. I'd say the second track, Gorilla, is one of my highlights of the album. If you give a chance to listen to, pick that one maybe. But there's a lot of great. There's 10 tracks. No Mercy is really good. A whole bunch of good ones. So I'm recommending Little Simz No Thank You is the album, and that's my What the Fandom this week. How about you, Angus? What the fandom with you?
Oh, God. Okay, I'm gonna go. I got two. The first.
Oh yes, you can do two.
I'm gonna go something mainstream and then something not as mainstream. The new season of Party Down.
All right.
Yes.
Like my favorite. Party Down was like my favorite show. I loved it. I probably watched the Jackal Onassis episode with Jimmy Simpson like a dozen times. Like that show is just my like if somebody said, "Hey, what's your sense of humor?" Like I would show them an episode of Party Down. Like that's just totally my sense of humor. Little broad, little drama. You know, it works out really well. When they said they were going to reboot it, I was like, "Fuck," because they never. It's so rarely done right. But man, I watched and 4 episodes in, and this shit is just as funny as it used to be, and they've totally made it where like you watch a show, and at the end of the series, it feels like they're kind of giving the characters maybe a little bit of hope. And then if they bring a show back, they have to take all those gains away from the character in order to make them still have to work for a catering company or whatever they have to do. It's like the Great Reset. It's like you can't have Shia LaBeouf save the world at the end of the first movie, and then at the second, then he has to be knocked back down a peg so he can then go through that whole journey again. So I was expecting Party Down to kind of go into bullshit mode, but my God, they've perfectly captured being middle-aged and sad, and at the same time making that funny. And I just think that cast and the creative team behind that show, my God, they make me laugh.
I haven't caught the newest episode yet, but
Oh, guys, it was the best
Yeah.
one. It's I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to ruin it for you. Fourth episode, fucking hilarious.
Nice. Yeah. Great recommendation.
And then the other one I was going to say, I just picked up the first 2 issues of a comic series called Harrower. And it's I just looked up the writer and artist Justin Jordan and the artist Brahm Revel, and it's from Boom. I just like the cover. It had this like really scary cloaked guy. A lot of times when I go to the comic shop, I always try to force myself to buy something that I know nothing about. So like, you know, you have your favorite series and your favorite writers, but I'm like, I really try to stay tapped into anything that, you know, something new, you know, if you're not discovering something, you know, but it had this great cover and I bought it and I bought the first 2 issues, and it's just this really, really great horror story with this guy who does this really cool, the art's just fantastic. It feels like Archie on Coke. Like it's just got this really it's got this real kind of pastel color vibe, but it's just really, really great for a horror story. And it goes gory and over the top and insane, and it's funny. And I really, like I said, for the first 2 issues of something I knew nothing about, I was very impressed with what I read. So I'll be definitely picking up the rest of those when they come out.
Cool. I'm actually looking it up right now. That looks really fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the writing's great, and the art. I hate to always say, "Oh, I like the art better," but like the art in this is like this guy is good.
Wow.
Yeah, that seems like a blast.
Yep.
Cool. Good recommendations all around, folks. Thank you. Angus, a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. As an indie author, you know, any opportunity you get to kind of go on and kind of talk about your work and contribute to something. And again, you guys have a great show. So I was just honored that you guys were able to get me on and talk about some of the stuff and talk about Troll. Had a great time.
Yeah, it was super fun. Yeah, it's great insights to add to it. We appreciate what you're able to bring to the conversation. Is there like any social medias that you want to plug for anyone to find you?
Oh Lord, yeah. I think I'm only on Twitter at this point. I think I'm barely hanging on there, but it's at Anghus H, like Anghus Houvouras. So it's at Anghus H on Twitter. Feel free to follow me and hear me. Let's see, what was my last tweet was saying that Ben Affleck's new movie Air about Nike and Michael Jordan feels almost like Reifenstahl level agitprop. So if you want to hear gems like that, you can, you know. You want to hear the tweets from somebody who's never going to be picked up to do anything with the studio because he makes really weird claims. That's really the Twitter account you want to be following right there.
All right. Swimming endorsement. Yes.
Hashtag no filter. Yeah.
I love it. And you also, I mentioned your Flickering Myth. You have you still have articles coming out there?
Yeah. I write. I've kind of since COVID happened. I used to do work for several publications, and I did movie reviews and columns every week. And then COVID happened, and most of them went out of business. So then I still write columns. I'm just not on any regular schedule. So I got a great relationship with those guys. The Flickering Myth has been around for I think they're going on 12 years now, and I've been there 11 of those 12 years. And the guy, Gary, who runs it, super great guy. He's always given me an open platform. I think twice in the last 11 years, he's like, can we not run this? I don't want to piss anybody off.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. Because he's the guy that has to deal with all the weirdos and the people that are like, why do you employ people like this? But it's a really good site. They do really good content. And there's very few sites that I see that allow people like me to just go in there and write. And again, I've been doing this for 20 years. So the fact that somebody just lets me go in, gives me access to the WordPress, lets me put in the article, and then basically edits it and puts it out really without much in terms of maybe you shouldn't say this. So it's a great site simply because I think they give you the opportunity to just be yourself. And there's no corporate mandate to do X amount of columns a month. There's no mandates on what you can or can't write about. And I think that's why I like the site so much. So yeah, definitely, if you're into film and entertainment news, Flickering Myth is a great site to check out every day.
Yeah, I've enjoyed them quite a bit. I'd emphasize that recommendation for sure. So I'll put links to your Twitter and Flickering Myth as well in the show notes, so you guys can check that out. But other than that, I think that's all we have for you, everybody listening. This was a blast of a conversation. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
anytime.
Yeah, really.
We'll definitely have you back.
I echo everything Joe said earlier, Angus. This was such a fun discussion. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, man. This is the kind of stuff I just do in my spare time. I hang out on a Discord server and talk movies with people. Like I'm from that old school chat world, the old MIRC days. So like I like to like talking movies is just sort of what I do for fun. So this was a blast.
Nice. Well, thank you, and thank you, Joe, for co-hosting this awesome discussion as well. Thank you to everyone that listened to us, and we have a fun guest for our next episode where we'll be discussing the Robert Rodriguez film From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, an amazing movie. I'm so excited to get into it. But until next time, creep it easy.